Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So myself and my sister in the movement, Triana Arnold James, we went to a campaign rally for Senator Kelly Loeffler. And literally when we went to the campaign rally, we really just went to ask questions about, what she was going to do to protect people. I didn't initially know a lot of her stances on the Black Lives Matter movement when we first came. Like that was still relatively unfamiliar to me, right? So we went to ask her some questions, and of course we were only Black people there. So that was my first, especially because there's a lot of Black people in Georgia, right? So I was like, where are all the Black people at? We're the only ones here. I'm confused. Yeah, that was the first kind of signal that this might be a foreign territory to me, especially coming from social media world, and we've been quarantined. Like social media kind of puts us in this echo chamber where we only hear things that we agree with constantly. So I didn't realize there were so many people that did not agree. So we went there to ask her questions, and it was, during her campaign rally. And all of a sudden, she started talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. But when she was, and I thought, prior, I was like, well, okay, I'm pretty sure there's some people, that don't support Black Lives Matter, but that's just people like the KKK and stuff like that, I didn't realize that there was a whole lot of people, that didn't like it. And they were just normal people too, but they were saying all these, they was like, initially, we asked her, well, what are you, because this was around, Ahmaud Arbery had happened in Georgia. So we asked her, what are you going to do to protect the Black and brown people that are being abused and murdered, in your state? How are you going to protect those constituents? And then all of a sudden she started talking about how Black people that supported the Black Lives Matter movement were Marxists, and we were communists, that we were, and I didn't even know what Antifa was when I went there, until she called me Antifa. I was like, what is Antifa? Let me look that up. Let me see what Antifa is, So she said that we were part of Antifa, that we were communists, that we was Marxists, that we was anti-nuclear family. And I was like, I was just really shocked that she would even say this, like, this is my US senator. And I was like, okay, at the very least, like I suppose, like I could imagine some people might be low-key racist, but I never thought that anybody would, as a senator, as a political official, just be so like outspoken with. I was like, they at least got to be politically correct. She wasn't even politically correct. She was just like going for it, which is why I'm so surprised that there's a runoff with her right now. I'm like, what? There's a runoff? Like I was shocked about that. So so she was telling everybody that, this is what I'm talking about. She was like, they're fascists, they're Marxists, they're communists, they're all this thing. They're trying to change your way of life. So then all of a sudden the crowd start getting mad at us and started surrounding us, right? And then they started yelling at us. Like initially they were trying to lock arms, and surround us in a circle so that we couldn't get out the room. And then they start yelling at us, all lives matter. Like, all lives matter, all lives matter, So I was like, is this for real? Like I was literally like this is like a movie, like I felt like I was in Us, like the movie Us all of a sudden, like I was like, wow, So they started trying to surround us. Then they started yelling all lives matter. So the only thing that we could do, because there was like 2 of us and like 100 of them, so we were like, okay, we're gonna say Black Lives Matter, in response. So we start saying Black Lives Matter, and then they started like spitting at us, like throwing stuff at our feet, they were going, and a lot of them were like older white people also, like people that were in walkers and wheelchairs, So I was just like, I've never seen like old people get this rowdy before. Like it was like, wow, And then afterwards, like while they was like locking us in the room, right? Mind you, there's cops there also. So, there's the cops were kind of like, some of the cops were telling us, like, even though there was 2 of us and like 100 of them, like there was a few of the male cops that was like, you better not touch any of them or I'm taking you to jail. I'm like, we better not touch them? There's 2 of us, it's 100 of them. They're trying to surround us in, There was this one female cop who was amazing. She was amazing. She was like, look, she's like, you guys are not doing anything wrong. She was like, they better not touch you guys. She was like, don't worry about it. She's like, you guys have a right to be here. She was like, I got you. Like, that was kind of like our like, okay, you know, like it's, you know, thank you, you know. But some of the other cops was like, you better not touch him or we're taking you to jail. Like they were trying to find a reason to arrest us. And we're like, we didn't do anything. They surrounded us, right? So while they were surrounding us, they went outside and keyed our car, right? Like Triana Arnold James, like she had a BMW, right? And of course, you know, she has her stickers up there. So they keyed her car outside where they was like holding us in. So it was definitely a crazy, interesting experience that happened that really awakened my, you know, my eyes to what, you know, that there are communities out there that didn't necessarily agree with some of the work that we were doing. The hard part about it is that after the event happened, Senator Loeffler tried to use it as, you know, a campaign strategy to rally up the masses to be like, this is why, you know, Black Lives Matter, like, is trying to destroy your lives. Like, look what they're doing. You know, they're trying to take away, you know, your way of living. They're trying to take away your money, your communities. They're trying to do, like, she was telling them that we were doing all of this stuff, you know, that we were like, we were just asking you questions. Like, all we did was ask you questions as our senator, you know? So, and then she went on this media campaign and talked to basically like 100 different outlets about how, you know, this was an example of how Black Lives Matter, like, is a facet, like, Antifa communist organization, and that we were violent, even though they were the ones that keyed our car, you know, and came after us, you know. I didn't go in there like having any opinion about any of the people there when I first came there. And I'm assuming that before we came, I'm assuming that they didn't really have very much opinions about us or about Black people, you know. But when you have somebody creating this narrative that they're coming after you, and she repeated it multiple times on social media and in the media, she was like, these people are coming after you. Black Lives Matter is coming after you. She said, make no, like her quoted words was, make no mistakes. When they come from me, they're coming after you. They're coming after your way of life. You know, when people are creating this narrative, it creates hate and creates all of this division. And it was really the first time I saw it up close and personal. Now we see it on TV when we see Trump say, stand by and stand down, you know, and it almost still seems like a movie when we see it on TV and stuff like, oh, that's not real. You know, that's just a movie. That's just, you know, but it really is real. People have to really understand that this is real. There are people out here creating this narrative. Trump is real. Senator Loeffler is real, right? And seeing it so up close and seeing how people responded in our presence so up close and how dangerous it could have turned, it really raised my awareness, and it really made me realize that we really have to get this message out here and to stop this division, right? And make sure that we continue to have this conversation with each other, so that people that don't look like us, they know that that's not what we mean. That's not what I said. When she said that I was coming after y'all, that ain't true. When she said that I was anti-family, that's not true. That's not what I said. This is what I meant. Like, getting in front of each other, having these conversations, even if it's by Zoom, so that we can understand one-on-one what our agendas are and stop having these other people try to tell it for us.